Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. What some of you might remember that I always called the mom series The Misunderstanding of Multiplicity, and the channel name was Awesome Astrid Mosaics. And I changed that channel name to Maria Mosaic because it just fits the channel better now in the direction I'm going. Um, I'm not going to not talk about DID or multiple personality or my experience of being diagnosed with it in 1986 and uh, how the recovery went, merging, integration, the history of it, the um, complex weirdness of how some professionals believe in it, some professionals don't, the controversy in the media, the over sensationalism, the stigma. I'm still going to talk about all that in movies and book reviews and awesome stuff like that. But I just wanted my channel to be more. I'd started all these channels to try to like make everything separate, like my knitting, my crochet, my cooking, baking, and just vlogging in general. Like I thought I needed to, if I'm talking about the news, I needed to make it a news channel. It's going to be a vlog. So my focus is anything in the news that these are the things that kind of get me get a hair standing up on my back or whatever. Um, get my ear listening is things that don't make sense in the news, red flags in the news, um, movements, awareness groups, and things that just don't make sense. Things in psychology, psychiatry, casework, medicine, things that just nothing's driving. And so I look at the misconceptions, the controversy, the stigma, and try to debunk things like that. I've been out here now for 13 years. And like I said, I know there was a lot of, I don't want to say hate, but I think I lost a lot of, at one point I had 939 subscribers and 500 of you are gone. And that is my own fault for not tending to my channel, for picking up my marbles and going home for a while, and just not wanting to be a part of the DID community anymore. I just didn't. It got too much out here. And I don't think I ever really fit in the internet DID community, although I was one of the very first people out here amongst three to start talking about what DID was in 2008 and 9. And in 2007, I made a video, but then I started coming out phase to monitor. So now we have a huge DID community. I really don't feel like my opinion is needed as much, although I will still talk about things when it's in the media. I'll still talk about books that I read that are really great, but mostly I'm going to talk about recovery, abuse survivor recovery, domestic violence recovery, um, recovery, and life, and what's in the news, and just weigh in, and cook, and bake, and knit, and crochet. And so today I want to talk about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp again, because this trial's been going on forever. So I'm going to weigh in. But I want to say first, as a survivor, and having been a social worker for a few years in the field, working with women and survivors, and being a child protective worker, being a rape survivor counselor, being a peer support counselor, being an emergency service provider, working in the field I did, I was trained to always believe women and children. And it's a sad thing, but even in our profession years ago, um, we were really trained to believe that women were usually the victim and men were usually the abuser. And I knew in my heart that was not true. I knew it didn't pass the sniff test, and I knew in my gut that wasn't true. I knew that women could dish out a lot of abuse and a lot of manipulation, and they could be very strategic about it because I grew up with a woman that did that, right? So that's all I have to say about my personal history is that I am a DV survivor from childhood, and then I walked right into that mess as an adult all over again, even as a social worker, knowing what I knew. So, um, at some point, you start to get smart, a little smarter, or a little smarter, right? Start to pay attention, learn some lessons. So, um, what I learned is that there is no way to cover up black eyes, pointed to my eyes, with any kind of makeup. If you have a shiner, you have a shiner. And no amount of makeup's gonna just this. That's it. Okay? So this is why I don't believe Amber Heard. I also know that if somebody is punching you with their rings, and I've said this in another video, um, my mother used to backhand me with just one engagement ring on, and she would move those rings around, and I would kind of look for what hand did she come in. I mean, many times it was a knee-jerk reaction, like "shut up," bam, bam, you know, and if she caught me just right on the face, I was in my bedroom with an ice pack on. I didn't go to school. You just couldn't. I had Max Factor pancake makeup. Does anybody remember Max Factor pancake makeup on? You could put it on your legs. I'm 63 years old. You could put it on your legs, you could put it on anything, and it pretty much covered pretty good. A friend of mine introduced me to that makeup. She saw some scratches and bruises on my face, and she said, I'll help you. She was a hairdresser, and she helped. And it still didn't cover it up. So the only thing you really can do is, and steak doesn't help either, and frozen peas don't help. Only, and nor does Amica or Arnica cream. You just gotta stay away. All right. Another thing I know. Amber Heard today was shown two photos. One coming out of the courthouse from her temporary restraining order, where TMZ had said somebody tipped us off from, they figured it was Amber's team, that Amber was going to be at the courthouse and that it was the right side of her face and that she was going to come out that door. And we got there and we took the picture. And if you look at the picture of Amber coming out, she does look very catonic, like she's being let out. Looks like no makeup. And the right side of her face, what she does is she comes out like this, arms folded, black dress, and then kind of does one of these. Like, she sees the press and she goes, go back, look at it. It's the weirdest thing she does with her head. Like, get that, get that. Okay, snap, snap. Here's a picture. As she's headed to the car, though, and this is what made me stop and wonder, TMZ also put out a picture of her in the car where it looks like she broke down. But there was a long lens zoom in front of her. They were in front of the car. So she also knew the cameras were in front of the car. Right. So she breaks down. She's crying. She's really crying. Now she's kind of like the word they use is she's catonic. Amber's in the courtroom, catonic, for her TRO. She's catonic and breaks down afterwards. Okay, so I have these two pictures I'm looking at, but then there's the third picture. Amber with her friend, celebrating, walking down the street, face up, right side of her face, you could see she's smiling, and she looks very fresh-faced. There's no bruise. And Amber said, I was outside. I was in the sun. I'm in the sunlight there, and I was outside. And I wear my makeup. Now, she testified before that she wears a moisturizer with a tint in it because she does it with SPF because she has a skin condition that she can't be in the sun. So she never goes out without her moisturizer tint with her SPF. So what she's saying is that she's smiling out at the sun with her friend and they're walking and I'm having a hard time with the smile though because see the bruise would hurt too much to smile. But beyond all that, most women, if they're especially if they're high net celebrity and they know there's going to be pictures taken of them or whatever. The most important part of your makeup, even if you're going to put a light foundation on, is to fill in your eyebrows, and which I haven't done today, and frame your eyebrows. Like you'll want to draw these out a little bit. You want to fill that in a little bit. You want to look at the areas that look kind of shaggy. Fill them in, brush them up. She was really fresh faced. That was Amber with no makeup on because women frame their face. They do their eyebrows. I'm home in the house. I'm not worried about it. Um, but when you're really not worried about putting makeup on, sometimes you don't do it. When you really don't have makeup on, she didn't have makeup on. She did not have makeup on. And I believe she had a moisturizer on it. Maybe had a little tint in it, but she didn't have no coverage. She didn't have extra coverage on it. Tint wouldn't have covered that. So this is what you can do. You can do this. You can stay home. You can wait and that bruise will grow as it heals. And parts of it will be purple, parts of it will be orange, parts of it will be blue or purple. And even though Amber can take us on her corrector wheel of makeup and say, well, when it turned green, I did this color, and when it, because she knows makeup. Had she done that, when she went to blend it, you would still see the bruise. And that's what I know about makeup. And I know you can make a bruise with makeup. I'm not saying she did that. I'm saying I know maybe she bumped into the door or something. I don't know. Maybe she self-inflicted it. I don't know. This is what's out there. I don't know. But what I do know is I used to believe women. I used to believe children. I learned a long time ago in my field, being a child protective worker, that yes, sometimes children do make up abuse. And sometimes children do see the grass is greener on the other side, and mommy and daddy got divorced, and I want to go live with my daddy, or I want to go live with my mommy, or I want to go live with my grandmother because my grandmother kisses my ass, but I don't want to live with my mother. There, I worked with pregnant teenagers who we were always working with multidimensional generational issues in a family and so many different dynamics, and the baby's family, the father family, and the grandparents were all involved, in the siblings, and we would get reports all the time, especially when there was money involved. Money is a great motivator, so we would get reports all the time that stuff was going on. When what? When they didn't want to pay the money, and if the child lived at another house. So I look at this as Amber really wanted spousal support. She wanted a lot of it. And she wanted, before that, she wanted a prenup. She didn't get that. She wanted to be in Johnny's will. She didn't get that. Did they both abuse each other? Yes, I said that. Yes, they did. But Amber was the instigator. Amber was the main aggressor, and Amber made much more of what happened in her marriage and courtship with Johnny than ever happened. And one of the classic things that Amber is doing over and over again is whatever she did to Johnny that we can actually hear, that we can see, that we know, she is saying Johnny did to her. She has taken everything that she did, that she feels guilty about, that she's a little scared about, and she said Johnny did that to her. So what I know about bruises is it doesn't take it down significantly. There is swelling. You look like an alien for a while. You just got to stay home. What I know about getting hit with rings, because like I said, my mom used to slap hand me like a knee jerk kind of thing. And she'd catch me with my ring. She caught me with my ring. With her ring on my face, I just have to stay home. That ring, Maria's sick. Maria's got cramps today. She's going to her room. Where's Maria? She's in her room. She's got cramps. Leave her alone. I'm telling you, there's no way to cover, even with pancake makeup, there's no way to cover that. Okay. Um, so I've thought about the three pictures. on the way out from the TRO, uh, driving away in the car, and then with her friend Rocky. Bruise, no bruise. Okay. And again, if a woman's gonna go fresh faced out, they usually don't think about their eyebrows. But if they're gonna go put their makeup on, it's kind of a given. You're gonna frame your face, fill in your eyebrows. So that picture, she's totally no makeup. There's no makeup. What else? Um, in the recordings, this is probably one of the main things. In the recordings where we hear Amber saying, "Go ahead, Johnny, tell. Go ahead, Johnny. I dare you. Go ahead. You think they're going to believe you?" That is spoken right out of the playbook of every abuser I have ever I've ever encountered in group therapy and family dynamics, in couples therapy, in anything that I've ever been involved in conflict resolution, in negotiation, in litigation, and all those things that I used to do as a social worker that I don't do, that I went on disability, that I doubted my own abilities because of my disabilities, because of panic and anxiety and MPD, DID. I mean, I literally believed, well, I can't now because, okay, that's another video I'll do another time. But I always stayed a very sharp social worker. I mean, like, really worked at it. And I think that a lot of people that were abused, and when I say sharp, I mean, it's going to sound braggiosity. I don't want to sound that way. I mean, I couldn't sleep at night. I would have a case on my mind, a family, a person, and my children will remember this. I would, on the weekends, do home visits when I didn't have to. I would check in on them. If my if we had to investigate cases, but if I felt like something was up, I would just drop in. I'm just dropping in. I got some food for you. Do you need anything? How you doing? Holiday. Let's make a turkey together. I'm just gonna hang around with your family and get a feel of all of it in their environment. I would just kind of drop in. And that was something my supervisor always said was really cool about me, but she worried about it, 'cause she was like, "You take your work home with you," and I worry it's taking a toll on you, because I would keep working and take more cases. So that's what I mean by sharp. I didn't take it lightly when a person came to me with a story, an allegation. I took it serious and I believed them. I believed them, I believed them, I believed them. And if they said in an assessment that their husband usually acted up around a certain time at dinner or whatever, maybe it was the abused adult, the abused child coming out in me, but I would show up around dinner time. How you doing? I made a dessert, bringing it over. Now, back then, social workers could drop in on houses and just check in. I'm just doing a little home visit, just checking in. Nowadays, no, wouldn't be okay. But back then, we could. Excuse me. Pollen. We're at 100% pollen today, and I'm feeling it. I'm sneezing every other minute. Okay. So Amber, man, every parent that ever abuses a child, every authoritative person that ever abuses a child will say, "Go ahead, tell. Who do you think you're going to tell? Who do you think is going to believe you? Go ahead." I mean, that sealed it for me. That, with all my back and forth, that sealed it for me, because every time I heard Amber saying, Go ahead, Johnny. Tell the jury. Tell the whole world. Let's see who they believe. You. Look at me. Look at what I weigh. I'm a skinny little thing and you're this big thing, right? Well, he took that challenge up and I'm glad he did. Now, abusers do that. They tell you nothing happened here. What happened? Did something happen here? Did something bad happen? What? And they record you. I've talked about this in other videos that I took down and made private because they're just not, they weren't as relevant anymore, but I'll talk about it again. Um, Growing up, my mom had a tape recorder, one of those old tape recorders, um, cassette tape, in 1968. And she started taping music that she liked. And it was a cool thing to have. Everybody had a little cassette player, right? Well, my mother decided she could turn on her recorder, and she knew about this before Nixon. She started recording in 1968. Everyone, if you called her on the phone, you could almost hear the little reel going. If I heard any static or noise, I'd be like, "Mom, do you have the tape recorder on?" She would call and play tapes of me talking to my uncle, like whatever I said to her. She would call and play tapes to my doctor's office. She would call and play tapes to my brother of me, or to my grandmother, to someone else, or my aunt, to someone. She taped everyone. And when she died in 1996, my brother got to the house first, got rid of what we call the Watergate tapes, but there were a few that made it into a couple shoe boxes and a few of her purses, and they were humdingers. Those were the ones she was hiding. They were, and I ended up with them, and I'll just never forget being completely um, blown away by the ones she was hiding. And they were all ones that were like spliced and diced, I want to say, where she would stop the recorder and put another one and record over and make it sound like you were saying something you weren't. So to this day, I'm 63 years old. If I get on the phone and I hear noise in the background, like somebody's talking to you on a cell phone in a car, I'm like, what's that noise in the background? Are we on speakerphone? And my very good best friend, she when she calls me, she's often running around her house cleaning, and I'll be like, I'll get really quiet. She'll be like, Maria, it's just me. I'm in the house alone. I am not your mother. I am not recording you. She knows it's a big deal for me. So, I really saw Amber doing that. And my mother used to use that kind of thing to make it appear like things were happening that weren't. And it's a major gaslighting move. And when you grow up being gaslit, and then you spend the rest of your life being gaslit, and um, and when you're trained to believe the woman, believe the child, right? But you can't because it's not passing the sniff test, it's not passing your gut, something in your heart is feeling like that's not right. Listen to all that, all your senses. And so, oh, there's so many things. I really liked what Dr. Shannon Curry had to say about post-traumatic stress because even though we like to say we're survivors, and we are, we survived something, right? We survived a lot. Um, it does come up. We do end up being anxious when other people would be like, "Oh, what are you anxious about?" We do get a little paranoid and scared when other people would be like, "What's going on?" Or panic attack, or depressed. But why? Why are you depressed? Okay, it does come back up and revisit us, and our trust levels do flounder from that trauma. Now, we can move past it and move forward with all of our tool belt, everything, CBT, DBT, medication if we need it, prayer, however you pray, um, faith, community, service to others, writing, journaling, hobbies, therapy. We can use all of our tools. Grounding, uh, mindfulness, um, yoga, dance, exercise. There's a million things we can do that we can find joy in again and keep living, right? But we do fluctuate from victim to survivor, from victim to survivor, and that's what I mean by we're survivors, we're thrivers, and then we're victims again. Because the past, even though we've put it in the past, it doesn't define us. It doesn't dictate who we are, but it's woven into the fabric of our being, into the very cell memory of our body. So it does. If you're truly, if you truly have post-traumatic stress, there will be a lot of unnecessary anxiety that just is there. You just can't. It's free-floating anxiety that's just there. It's free-floating depression that's just there. It's free-floating panic. It's difficult, but it's there. I don't see that with Amber. I don't see any depth to her emotion. I picked up on something her acting coach said in testimony. She said, Amber is not a method actor. Amber, interestingly, has trouble crying for a performance. Amber has a very difficult time crying, and it's kind of common with actors that they do have trouble crying for the camera, for an audience. So for a method actor, you're telling them to go to their pain, go to their pain and drudge it up. Just stay there with it, cozy up to it, hug it, get in there, and let those tears flow. Amber couldn't do that performing. But the I found it interesting that she said that because in my mind that worked against the whole thing. I think what she was trying to say is, and Amber's not performing because Amber has a hard time crying. And that's why Amber has not cried. That's why Amber has not cried. Um, Maybe she thinks she did, but that's not. No, no, no. See, crying is when, and I'm going to get a tissue because my nose is driving me nuts. Hang on one second. I'll grab it. Be right back. This is what I need. I need a tissue. All right. And everybody is talking. Okay. Ah! Itchy nose from the pollen. What I really have to do is wash my hair. You know when you go walking with that first big pollen, it's in your hair and then you can't stop? Okay. Well, it's the same way when you're crying. It really is. When you're crying, something happens here. Now I know she might have had lip work, she might have had face work, she might have had Botox, she might have had cheek implants. The forehead might be, the eyes might be, and it might be very hard for her face to move. But when I'm crying, most people I know that are crying, there's several kind of cries I don't want to see. A lot of actresses do this. They just kind of like, this is really a Judd move. All the Judd ladies used to do this. God rest Naomi's soul. They all did this. Like, go away, cry, go away. I'm gonna damn it, you know? Okay, so that's one cry. Hollywood kind of people do that one a lot. Like, they don't want their mascara to run. I want to see the mascara run. I want to see the eyeliner run. Okay. Amber doesn't have a whole lot of makeup on around her eyes, so she could cry. Um, it can be said that some people are very stoic through their trauma, and I used to be, so I get it. It can be very hard to cry. Um, there can be a wall built up so much that a person can't cry. But her acting coach was saying Amber was coming to her in tears over the abuse. Every time she talked about the punching, the this, the that Johnny was doing, it was after the fact. Acting coach never saw anything happen, but okay. And Amber would be crying about it. Right? but she couldn't cry performing. So that makes me think Amber's been performing. See, now people have been asking, did she sniff something? Because she cried like this. She went, like, who does that? Who does that? Okay, this is how I. Okay, and it's ugly, and it's kind of, yeah, you gotta kind of keep wiping it. And once, like I said in the other video, once you start, man, your eyes are going, your nose is going, that upper lip is going. These are the little micro things that people talk about, like getting a tight jaw, the lip starts going, the eye starts going. You can't control these things in your face when you're really crying. You can get your voice to sound like that, and you can do that, but unless you start producing some tears and some snot coming out of your nose, I want to hear it. That's fake tears. That's fake tears. And you can cry real tears when you're getting caught in it's all falling apart. So part of that today when she was coming undone, I thought, she's gonna cry. She's gonna do a real cry. Got close. She got close because she was being cornered. It's like your kids when you catch them in something, and they're really not crying because they understand the significance of what they did wrong. They're crying because they're in trouble. All right. So that's what I thought. That's 2, 3. So no eyebrows were done, and I just don't know women that commit to putting on a moisturizer with a tint to cover a bruise that wouldn't frame their eyebrows. All right. That's 1. 2, um, only eyeglasses work for the shiners. Broken nose with shiners. Um, Only abusers say, go ahead, tell, I dare ya. Go ahead, nobody will believe you. You think someone's gonna believe you? You, this big man, and me. Okay, that's like saying, go ahead. You think you got something to say? Or nobody wants to hear what you have to say. Nobody cares. Go ahead, try. That is straight out of the book of an abuser. And I can't get past that. I can't. I can't. I won't. Um, I mean, if I had ever written down, and I think I did, in all my case notes, progress notes, assessment notes, evaluations, sometimes you have to make a statement note, like you have to write what a patient, client, participant uh, reports to you and what you see, what you observe, and your analysis of it, but you have to put some statements in from the client or the person you had to confront or in group dynamics. And there will always be that statement. Go ahead. Nobody's going to believe you. I mean, I think I must have had to write that over and over and over again. And one day I went to my supervisor and I said, do they teach people to say this? Because it's in every, I mean, I actually wanted to do research on it. Like, what is this phenomenon where every abuser says, I dare ya, I dare you. Nobody will believe you. And that laugh that she did. Okay. So I believe they're mutually abusive, like I said before. The pictures are doctored up with saturation and color, like the forensics digital Brian said. Um, Everyone else is a liar, and she's telling the truth. Um, it's all just a little too much, and so I have, although it's very hard, I think People don't understand how very hard it is for an abuse survivor to not believe another abuse survivor. And this is the problem with Me Too. It's Me Too too much. And I wanted to say something about Me Too. It's not very comforting to say Me Too. It's really not. Time's up. Yeah, we need equal opportunities for women and equal pay that men get. Definitely. Me Too is something totally different. Uh, I know we're in a different time now than when social workers and therapists were coming up and caseworkers and counselors. But I will say, in the groups that I facilitated, the number one rule was one, there's going to be a lot of women in this group that have similar stories. And we need to make them feel like their story is significant, valid, unique, and they have a right to be talking about it. Even after you get to person number 4 around the circle and everything is resonating, and they might be thinking, my story doesn't count so much because 3 other people said it. So I look at how people alter their reality and adjust the facts because they feel either their abuse wasn't, the abuse that they took wasn't enough to report it, to talk about it, or somebody else already mentioned that, so it seems insignificant, or they build on it, or they borrow from it. And what we would tell people in the beginning is if somebody else has a story similar to you and something resonates with you, if you need to leave the room, if you're being triggered, that's okay. And we had another person that would go with them, make sure they're okay. Um, and then and let the other person know it's okay that you're talking. Don't stop talking. It's okay that you're sharing, right? And then just because somebody else had something similar to happen to them, don't feel like you can't say because somebody already shared that you can share the same thing. But do not raise your hand and say, and this was, I can't believe how this was back in my notes. I was looking over it. I saved everything. I still have my briefcase. Caution the group participants to not say, to be sympathetic without saying me too. I found this note from 1989 when I was facilitating an incest survivor group and an abuse survivor group. And it was everything. It was abuse survivor. One day a week it was abuse survivor. Then it was domestic violence. Then it was, um, well, it was a shelter. It was women actually leaving. So their abuser. So we had to really caution the woman not to say me too, because it kind of normalized the abuse and the experience and devalued that person's experience. I'm not going to say I hope that makes sense. It does. Think about it. If I fall down and break my foot, and it's really traumatic, and it's traumatic to me because maybe I got 9 million things more to do that coming up than somebody else that falls down and breaks their foot, or maybe I'm on the ground longer, or maybe I don't recover as quick. Everybody has their own unique. To just say, oh yeah, me too, and then keep one upping, that is what Amber is doing. Me too, and me too, and me too, and. It's not comforting or empathetic or compassionate to say to another person going through abuse, me too. In fact, when women used to say that years ago, it was sort of like saying, shut up and take it. Like, yeah, that's normal. We all go through that. It was a normalizing. It's not an empathetic thing to say. So instead, what Me Too is supposed to be is I believe you. Not me too, just I believe you. But you cannot believe everyone. You cannot. It doesn't pass the sniff detector. It doesn't pass you the core essence of your heart, what you know. Your gut is churning, and it nags you. So let that be your guide. And I know a lot of women are feeling guilty right now. They're like, I don't believe her and I feel guilty. A lot of people. It's okay to not believe Amber Heard. And it's okay to not believe her and still believe that she was abused. Has she fabricated a whole lot, made this a whole lot worse than it was? Yes. She was an equal opportunity abuser. Did Johnny ever do the thing she said? No. No. I'm sure Johnny nodded out. I'm sure Johnny was a vulgar drunk, or what I want to say, a sloppy, arrogant drunk. I'm sure he was following his text messages. I'm sure he had had enough of her. Um, but sometimes the Me Too movement is a very opportunistic thing. When you see people are starting a platform, they're becoming influencers, they're getting a podcast, they're getting a YouTube channel, and it's, I survived this and you can too. Let me tell you my story. And you can, and I'll show you how to. Um, or become an ambassador or post your flash in the pan 15 minutes of fame is up. That's all you're going to get. Um, so I see Amber as a very opportunistic person. And Johnny had said right from the beginning, why are you going there? I mean, what do you really believe this in your head? He's still trying to figure out, why do you believe this? Um, what else can I tell you? I slammed my finger in a refrigerator door years ago. This one. Same. I don't want to give you the bird. My middle finger. And you can still see that there's a piece of skin there, that there was a whole piece of skin off here. Went down. And I remember my cousin bandaged it up for me. And this finger, I really can't, I can get it down, but I can't feel it like the other one. And it wasn't a big hand surgery or anything, but my nail was completely intact. My nail, the whole finger was slammed in like an auto shut refrigerator. And I mean, the skin was off. A chunk of the skin was just, but the nail was in complete tact. No bruise, no hematoma, no nothing. I remember my cousin saying to me, your nail might fall off later. And when I went to the doctor the next day, the doctor said, we might have to take the nail off, or we can keep bandaging. It's going to fall off. So later, like about 10 days later, but that nail was, those nails are strong. It was intact. Even when it started to get half off, it was still holding on. Even when it turned completely black, it was still holding on. So that's when the hand specialist came along and was like, we're going to have to take the nail off because it'll heal better. You got a better chance of no infection. We take the nail off. You can let it fall off, but you got a better chance of, we'll take it off. So you can smash your nail in a door, um, and you can get cut with a bottle hitting you like right on the nail, and it won't bruise it. It can just cut you. So that testimony, Dr. Shannon Curry is correct about post-traumatic stress and about all the tests that forensics do. That people that they're kind of like marker tests. Um, because forensics is not concerned with treating you like a clinical psychologist would be. Um, so, and you're going to have more time to to get all that in if you're actually working with somebody and treating somebody. But forensics, you're just, if you're, especially if you're hired for court appearance, you're just trying to gather as much as you can about the person's personality. Um, I see a lot of histrionics in Amber. I don't know how much of that is um, because she's theatrical naturally. I do believe uh, I do believe that Whitney got the short end of the stick, like Johnny said, because I do believe that Amber actually has taken Whitney's story. I believe that Whitney was probably the more abused, and Amber used it as her excuse and said it happened to her. I believe very strongly, I like to look at group dynamics and see what's going on, that Whitney is staying loyal to Amber because she is still in an abuse cycle with Amber. Um, yeah, she is. And uh Amber, I want to say Amber was the preferred child, and Whitney was probably the child that took the most, she was the most vulnerable to abuse. So um she wasn't able to get away from it as much as Amber was. And Amber actually is saying everything that happened to Whitney happened to her. I do believe Amber was abused when she was younger, but I believe she's borrowing from her sister Whitney. Okay, that's all I want to say. Whoever wins tomorrow, there really is no winner. I said that before. Um, but I totally believe uh, Johnny, and I do not believe Amber, because out of the playbook of abusers, there was that recording. Go ahead, Johnny, and then that laugh. There you. Who's gonna believe you? And this is why victims don't tell. We question ourselves. We say, well, nobody's gonna believe us. That's the tape we got in our head. Nobody's gonna believe us. Why would anybody want to hear that? Nothing really happened. It's all in my head. You you do that, okay? And people that record people. And I mean, unless you're taking pictures in your college days of your friends drunk, and putting ice cream in their hand, taking pictures. It's just all very sinister. No, 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 no. None of this. And I don't know what kind of sickness she has, but it's much more than histrionic and borderline. I think there's a little bit more going on there. I've been saying that from the start. All right, and I hope they get some help for her daughter and her because she'll need it. Okay, take care, everyone. That's my weigh in. I don't believe her. It's okay to not believe somebody. It's okay. It's okay. Bye.